Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to NRW. I'm your host today, Rob Medina, and I thank you very much for joining me here today because today I got a unique review here for you guys because as you already know, we do reviews for films, scripted television shows, and now even a dating show. But the good folks over at Disney had asked us to review their film that was released this week on digital platform for the movie Jungle Cruise. But the reason why they had asked us to review this movie is really because they wanted to focus more on the special features that came out with this film's release. Our very own Glenn Lawrence had already reviewed the movie back in July when it was released in theaters and also on Disney+. And I'll have the iCard for you guys to click on for you to hear his thoughts. And if I recall correctly, I believe he said he did enjoy this movie. I, on the other hand, was kind of hesitant about this movie because I wasn't really that intrigued to check it out. It really didn't catch my attention, wasn't really interested in even looking into it to give it a shot, to be completely honest. But again, since Disney had asked us to look into this movie and to check out the special features, I decided to give it a shot. I'm not going to get too much into the plot synopsis or the overall product of the film in itself. I will share my thoughts on the movie, though, but I'm going to mainly focus on the special features here because I think that's really what they want us to highlight here for you guys. Because as a movie fan and as a movie buff, I love the filmmaking process, so I'm all about looking into that. And the fact that the studio is asking us to look into that for them, I'm happy to do so. Now, the plot synopsis is rather simple with this movie. It deals with a captain played by Dwayne Johnson who is taking a scientist played by Emily Blunt alongside with her brother played by Jack Whitehall through the jungles to get to and finding the Tree of Life. And that is pretty much the film in a nutshell. I'm going to say this here. I did not expect to really like this film at all. To be honest with you, I just thought it was going to be an okay movie. But to my genuine surprise, I really thoroughly enjoyed this film. Quite a lot, actually. In fact, a lot of the things that I did not expect to take away from the movies really come from the characters, because there are a lot of great character moments in this film that I just did not genuinely expect to come across in this film at all. I really did not. I was expecting just a very generic story with a lot of fun beats throughout here and there, and that was pretty much my expectation, to be completely honest. But the fact of the matter is that the characters, the three main characters in this movie, all played by Dwayne Johnson, Emily Blunt, and Jack Whitehall, they were all fantastic. The chemistry that these guys have together on screen is just oozing all over throughout the entirety of the film. And there was also really nice character moments that you get to see in this film too. One in particular that I really took away a lot from, and it has to do with Jack Whitehall's character, who in the movie plays a gay character. And I remember they had announced that his character that he was going to be playing in the film was going to be a gay character, and I was wondering why they made an announcement to let everyone know about this character like that, because I was kind of concerned of whether or not they were just going to put a character of that, a gay character, just for the sake of putting it in there. I was wondering if it was going to be one of those situations here. And again, and to my surprise, that's not really the case at all. Now, I'm sure some people may have some opinions about how that gets handled here and there, but my personal opinion about the matter is that I really appreciated the moment you get to spend with Jack Whitehall's character, where he delves into his past and his story about how he fell in love with another man. The family was very much against that, and so was pretty much all of society, especially in the early 1900s. And the only person that stuck by his side was his sister, which is why he's always going on these adventures and putting himself in quite a severe amount of danger in a lot of cases where he's just not wanting to do that, but he's only doing it to keep her company because he is very loyal to her, because she's always been there for him no matter what. So there's that connection with those two characters where you understand where they're coming from, and it makes a lot of sense. But the part that I really took away the most from about this movie was that this is a family film, a Disney family movie. And to have that moment in the film, there's a kid who's watching this movie and is probably going to be inspired by that scene, and seeing a character that they can identify with, that understands that struggle, that understand of having to overcome those struggles, but also and seeing that there was somebody out there to support them in that situation. In this case, a family member, someone that was always there through thick and thin, no matter what, and they always defended him, no matter what the problem, what the obstacle was that they had to overcome. They always stuck with each other, and that's a nice message to send across here, especially for a film of this nature, where it's a family movie. Because if I remember correct, I meant to say, I don't ever recall a character of a gay character in this case that's going through an experience that they're going through in a family film. A Disney family film at that. And I think that's really inspiring, in my opinion. I think that's something you can really look at and go, wow, there's something they can do with this character and expand further in telling this story, which I think is a beautiful story to tell, in my opinion. Now, I am not a gay man, but there was something that I did connect with that story, where I really saw a struggle that we could all identify to a point. But in this particular case, this is a situation where a character whose sexual preference has been a major problem for other people, and then making it a problem for him as a result of that. And it's a terrible thing, but the fact that they've introduced that in a family movie of this caliber, for where it's meant to be seen by everybody, this is a perfect opportunity to introduce those themes and to introduce those issues to discuss, and to see how these characters are going to be dealing with the situation. I think that's something that's really important. I kind of went off on a tangent on that, but I think that's a really important thing to highlight here, because I honestly did not expect that at all with this character. I really did not, and I was thoroughly impressed with what they've done. And I'm curious to see anyone else's thoughts on that, to see what they think about that character's moment in the film, and explain their backstory on that. I would love to hear some people's thoughts about that, because I don't think it's really been delved too much into as far as I can recall. And the chemistry between Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt, that's really another thing that sold me on the movie too, because I was really hesitant about this relationship at first, because I just wasn't sure if I was going to buy into their bickering back and forth, and then eventually come into a romantic relationship, if you will. I just wasn't sure how I was going to buy into that. But to my surprise, I was actually very much invested. In fact, I was rooting for them too, to be together. And I mean, like I said, I just did not expect a lot from this movie. I really was just walking in with super low expectations. But this went above and beyond what I had anticipated with this movie, and a lot of it has to do with the cast and everyone else involved behind the scenes as well too. The director, the writers, all those people involved have done a really good job. So those are my major highlights on the movie. Now, as far as the negatives are concerned with the film, it's a rather generic form of adventure story that we've all seen before. But what's unique about it, as I mentioned before, are the characters. But one of the biggest sticking points for me, without a doubt, it has to be with the special effects. Some of the special effects aren't really that great, to be completely honest. And that's kind of the most consistent thing that I've heard about the movie, where the biggest problem and the biggest sticking point for a lot of people is that the special effects wasn't as good as they anticipated, especially for a movie of this size of a budget and this caliber. And to see the special effects not be up to par with that, it's a little off-putting, and sometimes it could be rather distracting. But it never really took me away from my enjoyment factor of the movie. But it definitely was something that it was a glaring flaw that you could see in the movie on many occasions. But there are times where you could see that the film has been put well together when it comes to the CGI, and it just looks absolutely flawless. But many other times, the flaws and the quality of the CGI, it's like lacking in many areas in this movie. So that was really my biggest problem with the film. And then some other little things with regards to the use of the villain in this movie, played by Edgar Ramirez. Speaking of him, there's something I also want to highlight too. As I should have mentioned this in a positive, but I'm going to bring it up now. So he plays a Spaniard in this movie, and Edgar Ramirez is Venezuelan. He is not Spaniard. When he speaks Spanish, he does not have a Spaniard accent. What I appreciated was that when he was speaking Spanish, he has a Spaniard accent. As someone who pays attention to those little details, when you have an actor who is not of the country of origin where the characters are from, it's very important to at least put on a very passable or very good accent to give the character a bit of authenticity. And the fact that whenever he spoke Spanish, he had a Spaniard accent, I was able to pick up on that. Now, me speaking Spanish, I could pick up on those things because I know the language very well, I should say, for the most part. Sometimes I struggle with it, but I really do know some accents to know exactly that the Spaniard accent is not going to be the same as a Mexican accent, nor is it going to be the same as a Venezuelan accent, Colombian accent, so on and so forth. So that particular thing that I have issues with a lot of actors putting on an accent, where that they're meant to be from one part of the country and they don't have that respective accent, or at least they have done it correctly for the character. In this movie, they did put in that effort, and I really appreciated that. So that's actually a highlight that I wanted to point out too before I forget. So yeah, my overall thoughts on the film, I enjoyed it. So if I were to give a proper rating right now, I would say that it's definitely a raise the glass in my opinion. Now, for the main focus of this review, which is the special features, I am a man that loves films. I love the actual filmmaking process. I love listening to the stories. I love seeing how everything gets put together. And I also think that in a lot of ways, those stories and hearing the actual filmmaking process itself is a lot more interesting than the actual movie in itself in some cases. And I also appreciate the hard work that's involved in putting a film together, because it's not an easy thing to do to make a movie. I have never made a film, especially a feature-length film, but I know enough to understand that it's not easy. It can be very tedious. It can be very, very painstakingly long. At the same time, it could also be rather boring. I think if people actually visit a film set, they may come to realize that it's not exciting at all. It's a very long, boring process a lot of times. But what helps make the actual process so exciting is that you bring creative people in the process to put in ideas, to share ideas that could help make the story better, to make it look more appealing, make it look really, really nice or rusty, or however, whatever the aesthetics are meant to be for the film. They have a way to go about to accomplishing that vision. And having people come together to get that idea, to come up with these ideas, I meant to say, and then making it come to fruition, that's a beautiful process. But again, for the average public, it's not going to be something they're really interested in having to see. So I think in this regard, that the special features that you get on this digital release, and there's a total of like I think 4 or 5 special features that I can recall off the top of my head here. You have like one that talks about making the actual Jungle Cruise film itself, the cast's chemistry, and highlighting certain characters, and also in the creative process of creating a CGI character and how they have to make that happen on set. And there's even one special features that has to do with the Disneyland park over in Anaheim, where you see all the skippers who work on that resort, and hearing their stories of how they got into working there and their experiences and how much they like it and so on and so forth. That was actually the very least interesting part for me, to be completely honest. And although it deals with real people sharing their stories, which was nice to hear, it was just the one that I took the least interest. That I had the least interest in. But as far as all the other features are concerned, with regards to the making of the movie, I appreciated that, because again, this is a way for people who may not be interested in that process to deliver it in a digestible fashion, where they can look at all the highlight all the key elements that it takes to make those things work. The cast, the crews, the directors, all the people working involved, showing that, hey, we're making a major project here, but we're also getting along in this whole process, because filmmaking is difficult. But when you work with great people, it makes it easier to go through that process when you're having other people that are wanting to cooperate and also trying to make the process easier and as pleasant as possible, because it can be a very stressful environment at times. So I think in that regard, they've accomplished in showcasing that and letting you know as an audience what it took to make the movie, and the fact that everyone got along great on set, as you can see on the screen, because sometimes you'll get actors who look like they have great chemistry on screen. Off screen, they hate each other. But in here, it shows that they really did have a genuine like and respect for one another. And I think they've done a really good job in showcasing that. So in that regard, I think that's another way to appeal to the audience and say, wow, they really look like they have a great time, and it shows on screen. That's a good way to engage the audience, to show that, hey, we've had fun making this movie. It wasn't easy, but we had a blast, and we want to show you that. I think they've been very successful in showcasing all that. They also do show some deleted scenes as well too, and it's some pretty standard stuff. Nothing really too exciting with some unfinished CGI, but for the most part, it's more like scenes that wasn't really going to help in telling the story. Just little tidbits here and there, but there was really nothing effective that I think was really exciting about it at all, as I already mentioned before. So it's just a pretty standard list of the deleted scenes, which I think total out to a total of like 16 minutes altogether. But overall, that's really my final thoughts on the special features. As far as delivering and explaining what it takes to make this movie for someone who may not be interested in seeing that, but may come across that, I think they've done a good job to make it a very digestible form of way for them to understand that process. Not make it too complicated, not make it too convoluted, just get straight to the point, highlight the good things about that whole filmmaking process, and showing that it's hard work, but we got along great, and we had fun on set, and you can see that on the screen. And I truly do believe that's the actual case here when it comes to this filmmaking process for this movie, Jungle Cruise. So overall, as far as my rating for the special features are concerned, I'm actually going to give it a pretty high rating. I would give it a raise the glass. So those are my thoughts on the special features and the film itself. Now, if you guys have seen the movie, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And I do highly recommend you guys check out the special features because, again, filmmaking is not easy. It's a very long and tedious process, and it can be very stressful as well too. But it does help out when you have a great group of people, a great set of people working on a project together, and they are finding ways to try to get this machine going and keep it going. And there might be some hurdles along the way, but they've always come in prepared to learn how to deal with these hurdles that they're going to be coming across through the production, and being prepared for that, because there's a lot of variables that needs to happen in order to keep things moving forward. And I think in this, as far as showcasing and letting the audience know that, hey, we were fully prepared, we brought in the best people to tell the best story, to the story at its best, and we're also bringing in some quality actors to really give great performances and devote the time and energy to the characters that are playing, and make it all work in sync with one another. So I think they've done a good job in showcasing that through the special features. My only real complaint about the special features that it's a very standard EPK form of showing how it makes how to make the movie. And if anyone doesn't know what EPK stands for, it simply just means electronics press kit. And there's nothing wrong with them showcasing that, because again, you have to appeal to the mass audience, and this is the best way to go about it. By all means, go for that. I always want more. I want more details. I want further insight about what it took to make certain scenes, how the ideas came about certain improvisation that may have come along the way, which you kind of get a little bit of here on how certain things that Dwayne comes up on the set to add on to the story, to add on to the character, and I think that worked very effectively for the final product of the movie. So I would like to see a little bit more of that. But overall, as far as delivering the information to a mass public, I think they did a really good job. So those are my thoughts here on this film, and along with the special features. So let me know, as I mentioned before, what you think in the comment section down below. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and make sure you share and like our videos, and hit that notification bell down there. And also follow us on our social media accounts. We have a Facebook and Instagram page at New Release Wednesday, and on Twitter at the NRW. And follow me on my social media accounts. On Instagram, Rob_Medina0585. On Twitter, RobMedina0585. And on Facebook, simply just Rob Medina. And if you don't know already, I have a show on the channel called You're So Cool with Rob Medina. I'll make sure to have the iCard for you guys to click on that as well. And I do talk with a lot of people in the industry, as far as actors, writers, directors, musicians, comedians, and everyone else in between. So make sure you check out that show, and also follow the show's social media accounts too. I have an Instagram page for that show, You're So Cool with Rob Medina, and on Twitter, You're So Cool WRM. And I thank you very much for joining me here today. I hope you guys enjoy this review. And until next time, everybody, stay safe out there, and cheers. Come here. Up, up, up. Good boy. Look. Say hello, everybody. Say hi, world. This is Batman. And that's it.